Welcome to the Julie Laughton Living Podcast, the place to get advice, tips, and tricks to building the life and luxury home of your dreams with 30-year business owner, designer, and builder, Julie Laughton. It all starts with a good plan. This is Julie Laughton Living.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Julie Laughton podcast. Today we're going to talk about change orders. I don't know if anybody knows what that means. Some people have no idea how this whole business works, but I'm going to talk about change orders, the good and the bad. The good, the bad, the ugly. Just kidding. And if you're wondering how all this process works, check out my 7 simple steps on my website. Share it with your friends. It'll explain everything you're going to go through in the remodel. And then there's little hints about the nitty-gritties, which is today, change orders. What are change orders? What do they mean? Okay, so I don't know if anybody understands how this business works, but, as a designer, I do the architecture, the interior design, of course, right? So that's an hourly basis, sort of like we work like lawyers, in a way. We tell you what we think it's going to cost in advance, and then we work on an hourly basis. We always try to give you a heads up what it's going to cost, and we review it. But, I could tell someone what it's going to cost based on what they told me day one or before we started, but guess what happens? People change their mind and it starts to snowball. It's never us, them, it's the client. And so I could tell a client, I'll do an initial meeting with the client and they'll tell me what they want. And then all of a sudden they start to go off on a little tangent and all of a sudden we're designing the Taj Mahal, So of course things cost more. But that's in the design process. And of course, we always tell people, hey, you just changed your mind. It's going to be like this amount of dollars to do that drawing, blah, blah, blah. So we always go through that process with them. But in construction, it's the same. Same thing could happen because in construction, we do is once those plans are done, the contractor bids off the plans and all that process you went through with your designer and your architect. That is what is bid. Well, the designer is, furniture sometimes, but everything that's screwed glued to the walls in that house is on the plans. All the specifications, everything in high level detail, like huge amount of information. That's what the contractor bids. If you're stupid enough not to pick your materials before the job starts, that's on you. And that's on your designer, your architect, and your contractor. Do not let anybody start your project without selecting materials. Because we've all, I can't even go there with clients that refuse to cooperate. But the thing is, the way to a successful job is to do your homework, get your plans done, put all the information on the plans, and then start. Because you can't bid it unless the information is on the plans. Okay, so let's say you're really good and the client's really good and you get all the plans done, every marble, every flooring, every countertop, every cabinet, every window, a door, doorknob, cabinet knob, everything's on those plans. And there are spec sheets for everything. And then the contractor bids it flawlessly, like perfectly, and everything matches. That's a perfect way to start a job. And then what happens? Guess what happens? The client starts to change their mind. Ow, my girlfriend said I should have this. Ow, my neighbor said I should do this. Ow, I saw this on TV. Ow, I went to Europe. I saw this. Okay, so change orders, they are like a whole nother contract that you sign because you changed your mind. So you have a scope of work that's based on the plans, and then the construction starts, and what's in construction is called a change order. So let's say you have a project that's $1 million, and then you change your mind and you want to change the product. So now you got to, is it available on time? What's that going to do to the rest of the materials I selected? Oh God, and what if it doesn't match the floor? So it starts to snowball because once you change your mind after construction, you got to change the plans, you got to change the schedule, you got to change the cost. And every change order comes with fees of all the humans involved and all the subs and all the labor involved to make that happen. So a change order is never a credit usually. It's a big plus. And then the change order is a cost increase, which is added to the bottom line of the contract you originally signed, which is called the prime. And then when you have the change order changes the end date. So every time you have a change order, it costs more and it takes longer. So that's change orders. And I've had a lot of experience with change orders, and because I have a lot of clients, unfortunately, that see our abilities or maybe weren't paying attention during the design phase and weren't confident with their choices. I don't know, but they changed their mind. Or they just see the scope, like, I want another room, and I wanted to do the backyard. I've changed my mind. I want to do more. So I've had clients do $2 million in change orders in a short amount of time when the project wasn't even 2 million to start with. Okay, so it's overwhelming. It's time consuming and it's costly, but if people have the money, whatever. But just heads up, change orders cost money and they cost you time. I mean, it adds to the bottom line of the project and it extends the end date. Another reason change orders come up is, like, I'm in the remodel business. That's, you got a lot of unknowns. In new construction, there's no unknowns really, unless you find Jimmy Hoffa buried in the basement and while you're digging a footing. I mean, you know what I mean? So the remodels, there's a ton of unknowns because you don't know what's behind the walls. Literally, you don't have x-ray vision. So there's a allowance for some things, but not unknowns that you really didn't expect, like the drought, the mold, there's a whole bunch to be discovered in a remodel behind the walls. So sometimes I do a little pre-construction or a little pre-demo to look, because gosh, it'd be nice to bid it perfect and know what's behind the wall. So that's very helpful when you do that. But in most cases you can't, or time doesn't allow it. Just go for it. You get your permit and then you start demoing. There's could be that. So that's another source of change orders, is the unknowns. So literally things that you didn't expect, like very unusual framing that you couldn't see, or surprises. So, well, I can't say this enough. At the beginning of your project, you have to pay attention. You have to participate. You have to be with a good architect, a good designer, and you need to select everything and see the big picture of what the house is going to look like through 3D renderings, virtual tours of your home. Make sure you know what they're building, your contractor's building, before the construction starts. That's the only way to avoid change orders and kind of be happy, and make sure you have all the materials, you touch and feel them, you see them, you see the color renderings. You have everything selected, and you can resist the temptation of changing your mind through, I don't know what pressure you may have from your friends and family. Oh, you should have this. Don't do all that before the construction starts. Don't change your mind after construction starts. It's costly and it's a hassle. And because I know with the clients that I've had in the past, the change orders snowball. There's certain people that they just can't control themselves. So it's hard, but if you want a successful project, pay in the beginning and don't make changes after construction. So in general, change orders are helpful because they're a good legal way to work. That's how the construction process is safe, because change orders help you decide if you do make a change. It helps you lay everything, and then there's a new price, but also snowball into more costs. So just be mindful and try to do your homework during the plans phase and pick all your materials, and try not to do change orders, because unless you have an endless budget. But change orders mean money and time. So be careful and do your homework and spend a lot of time on the plans. And that's my tip. Spend more time with your architect and your interior designer than you need to, and then let your just work. It would be a beautiful world if everybody did that. So anyway, see you on the next one.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Julie Laughton Living. For more information or to connect with Julie one-on-one, visit julielaughtonliving.com. And don't forget, it all starts with a good plan.